Welcome aboard the Disabled Diva Podcast. I'm your host, Cynthia, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this journey of exploration and conversation. Together, we'll dive into the intriguing topics that have been sparking discussions within my vibrant online Facebook communities, the Disabled Divas Chronic Pain Community and the Psoriatic Arthritis Community hosted by WebMD. But that's not all. I'll be sharing my personal thoughts, experiences, and current reflections. Each conversation holds valuable insights waiting to be uncovered. So, without further ado, let's kickstart the show and delve into a world of engaging discussions. Do you know what annoys me? People who think they know the best way to treat someone else's chronic illness. Not doctors, but friends, family, people who are out to make money from your pain, complete strangers, people in real life, people online, just people who, when they see that, or when you've shared how you treat, that they think they know what you should be doing without knowing your medical history, without knowing anything about you. Is there a right way to treat your chronic illness? No, there isn't. If there were a right way, it would be called a cure. And if we had a cure, that wouldn't be a chronic illness because you would be cured and you would be fine. But no, there is no right way. And why is that? Because everybody's different. What really matters and what's most important about how you treat your chronic illness is that you are comfortable with it. And how you started treating it may look completely different 10, 20, 30, 40 years down the line. You're going to go through all kinds of changes. And you may try different types of treatments, and that's okay. And you're going to fail on some. Well, you're not going to fail. The treatment's going to fail you. And that's unfortunately part of living with a chronic illness. We are all playing kind of a little crapshoot game of hoping to, find something that's going to help us. And not everything works. Not everything helps. For my first decade, I treated everything pharmaceutically, not just pharmaceutically, but through surgery and whatnot. Everything was done through my doctors, nothing else. And after 10 years of not getting any better, I had enough. And I was also going through a really bad withdrawal from a medication that made me nervous about putting my foot back into that pool. But after going through that horribly horrific withdrawal, I decided that I was done with pharmaceuticals. And at that time in my life, that's what I needed. I needed a change. And so at that point, I went full on natural and was looking into alternative treatments. Was I wrong? No. Was I right? Maybe, maybe not. At that time, it's what worked for me. Making that switch once all the pharmaceuticals were out of my system and whatnot, I did find that with the natural stuff, I did feel better. Not better to what society would want me to be, as in, back to who she was before. Because again, remember, that would be a cure, but you know how that is. Anyways, so then I went all natural, right? Okay. So then I was like, I would barely even touch a Tylenol at that point. Completely natural. And I will say, yes, it was better than my first 10 years to some extent. And then as one of one of my issues progressed and has gotten worse, I now find myself, as I've entered the third decade of my chronic life. I should say of my diagnosed chronic life, because looking back, I have been dealing with all of these issues since childhood, my teens, everything. So these are things I've been dealing with really for a lifetime. But in my diagnosed chronic life. This is my 3rd decade. I am now combining the pharmaceutical with the natural and alternative. Am I any better? No. But I am in less pain, and I am happier. So I'm happy with what I'm doing, and that's all that matters. I don't care what my neighbor thinks. I don't care what anybody else thinks. Their opinion of how I treat my pain, how I address my symptoms, it's what I have to do for me. And for me, a combined approach right now is the best. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I see this issue come up in online support groups for chronic illnesses all the time, and it makes me angry, where somebody will share that, how they're doing, and then they share that either, what medications they're taking, or that they're not on medications at all, and people will go after them. Like, oh, that one's horrible, it's going to give you this, this, and that, and, because they had a bad experience with it. Or if somebody's not on meds, oh my God, you have to be on meds. It's going to do this to you. It's going to do that to you. And that's uncalled for. It's unnecessary, and it's uncalled for. Especially since in these groups, we're there to support each other. We're there to help each other, not belittle each other just because you don't like somebody else's choice. If somebody has chosen to take a medication, that's their choice. They may not feel like it was their choice because it was the only one their insurance approved, but still, it is their choice to take it. And let them find out if it's going to work for them or not. Everyone's going to have a different experience. Like I said, I had a medication that it took 7 months of, it was just the most god-awful withdrawal of a medication. 7 months of night terrors, 7 months of sweating through my clothes, my sheets, 7 months of feeling like I had bugs crawling inside and outside my body, pain that just made you want to scream, and you just felt like you were I felt like I was losing my mind. I felt like I was having sometimes an out-of-body experience that the pain was so crippling. I don't even know how I got through it, but I did. But the reason I tell you that is because while my experience was so horrific, in fact, my doctor, he compared what I was going through to being worse. Get this, worse than what somebody would experience if they were a long-time meth addict and coming off of it. My experience was worse than that. That blew my mind. And it really, let me tell you, it opened my heart to have so much sympathy for people who do battle that addiction, because I know how hard that was for me to get through that withdrawal of a prescription medication. It wasn't even a narcotic. And I just can't even, my heart goes out to those people. With that said, just because I had that experience, that doesn't mean that everybody's going to have that experience. Are there groups on Facebook that have had this experience with the same medication? Yes. Is it everybody who's had this medication? No. I know a lot of people who actually do really well on it. Again, it comes down to, are we, the patient, are we comfortable with what we're taking? Is it helping us? Because if we're comfortable with it and it's helping, even if it's in a slight degree, it doesn't have to return you to who you were, but even if it's helping you find a way to live better and helping you deal with the pain, then it's nobody else's opinion matters. Like I said, I after that withdrawal, I was terrified of prescription medication of any kind. And when I had this conversation that I discussed in last week's episode about dealing with the abdominal pain that's never going to stop, that's ongoing 24/7 within me, I accepted a prescription for a medication that I have been against for quite some time based on what the negative things people have told me about it. And, then, so I'm glad I didn't fight it this time, though. I'm glad I was open to trying it, even though I've heard bad things, because it is helping me. Now, if I just would have based how I was going to treat my illness off of what people have told me, now I'm not saying I'm taking a consensus from everybody who's had it, because I haven't, obviously, just from those who decided to tell me their bad experience with it, that if I would have not taken it based off of that, I would not be happy today. I would be in so much pain. I would be curled up in a ball, and I would just be sobbing here in bed. But I'm not. I'm happy. I'm here. I'm sharing my story with you. I'm getting ready to go on vacation, and then from vacation, I'm going to Philadelphia to accept an award. So I'm freaking out, because this medication that I was so fearful of is turning out to be like one of the best things I've ever had, at least in combination with all of my other natural and alternative type of treatments. I use them all. This would not be happening had I been if I would have listened to somebody else's opinion. So I am really glad that I tuned out everybody and had a conversation with my doctor. And I've made him promise me that if someday I have to go off of this, and I do something happens and I do end up experiencing the withdrawal that I did from that other medication, that he'll help me, that he'll work with me, because it's scary. However, hopefully I won't ever have to go off it, and hopefully I can stay at this lower dosage that I'm on, and hopefully this is the answer for me for right now, to allow me to live the best life that I can in the state that not the state as in California, but as my physical state that I am in, health-wise. I mean, basically, how we treat our illnesses, it's a personal decision that nobody has the right to judge. They don't know you. They don't know what you're allergic to. They don't know what your history is with medications. They don't know what you actually have access to based off of finances, geography. There's just so many different factors. Not everybody can take the same thing. That's why we have so many options. Is because we are different. Not everybody has just one chronic illness. They're kind of like Lay's potato chips. Once you have one, you gotta have more. So you start combining illnesses, you have all this other crap going on. We have so many different factors that can make such a difference. So what helps somebody else is not necessarily going to help everybody else. And I know that. I know that how I deal with my pain and address my symptoms isn't for everybody. And that's okay, I'm always willing to share what helps me, and you're always welcome to ask me, and I will gladly share it with you. But I will never, ever tell you that it's my way or no way. I like learning about how other people treat theirs too, because sometimes it helps me tweak my plan. I'm always open to that, but I am not open to people criticizing somebody for how they've chosen to treat their chronic illness. It's uncalled for, it's ugly, and it makes me sad that I see it mostly within our community, our chronic illness community. So I hope to see less of that. I am really thankful, though, for my Disabled Diva pain community group on Facebook. They're the most wonderful, wonderful chronic illness group. They, nobody judges. These people, these men and women, they've got each other's back. They uplift each other. We all encourage each other. We empathize with each other. We sympathize. We're there to raise each other up. We're there to provide a shoulder to cry on, and we're there to learn from each other. And I wish I saw more of that through the chronic community, because it's a beautiful thing when it happens. So now it's your turn. How do you deal with those who criticize your treatment plan? Do you have a go-to catchy phrase? Do you just ignore them? Or, I don't know, I just want to hear, how do you handle it? Until next time, this is the Disabled Diva reminding you that you are not alone. I appreciate your time and attention. Remember, you can catch this podcast on popular platforms like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Casts, and Radio Public. Be sure to subscribe and tune in on your preferred listening platform. Until we meet again, take care, and this is the Disabled Diva reminding you that you are not alone.